You have an interest in songwriting, and there's multiple vehicles that you use to get there.
Yeah.
And that's like a way for you and I, or for like the kind of people you and I are, it's way more interesting than the person that goes to Berklee College of Music to learn guitar and how to play guitar.
Yeah.
I've always found it so hard to learn how to play music. Like, I didn't do well in music classes ever.
Really?
Just because it was like, it seems so counterintuitive to be taught how to play music.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain skills that are helpful. Like, I can still still read music. Piano lessons were very helpful for me.
Yeah.
For sure.
And
but
you're
that was
a good piano player,
that
though.
was so early on, too. Like, I started piano when I was 5 years old. If I tried to, like, take lessons now, I don't think I would be able to, like... If I tried to learn a new instrument and take lessons, it would...
Yeah,
I mean, tough.
Contradicting what I'm saying, I would love to start taking guitar lessons again. Just because it's like...
literally the exact opposite
because of what you're saying
said.
is like basically like having a basic knowledge of the instrument makes it so that you could do what you want to do. But also approaching it like, let's say you're going out on a date and there's a restaurant that you know you want to go to and you know it's going to be good, as opposed to walking down the street and stumbling across something you've never been to before. That's kind of the difference between the two things that we're talking about for me is like, I know this is going to work because I learned that this works and this is how things work. This is how guitar works, versus like discovering that something works, but you're not being told that it works. You're not being taught that it works. Not someone telling you that something works, but you just being like, oh shit, this is like new or whatever.
Yeah.
And that seems also way more relaxing about writing music than, I mean, because it never works it will never work if you sit down and you go, I'm going to write a song start to finish right now.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
I know.
Especially if you're
John Mayer would like to make you think so, but he's a fucking liar.
No, I've met people who completely disagree. I've met like, there's this composer guy in my building, and I told him that, and he was like completely on the opposite end of things.
Well, yeah, but he's a literal composer.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he does is he sits down and fucking writes music from his brain onto paper.
Yeah, and like we've never really been like once like, okay, I'm going to write down these chords on paper. Like, not even that, let alone sheet music. Like, it just takes out the riffing.
I got to send you this interview that I think his name is his last name is Bowen. I think it's Mark Bowen from Idols that he just did. He's talking about how they made their last record. And the producer, one of Radiohead's main producers, produced that album with them. And
good for them.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
It's crazy. And a lot of the stuff that you're talking about that like where you draw like creative energy from is very similar to the things that he talks about. I mean, their mentality has always been to push the limits of what a guitar can sound like, which is exactly what I think you do. Like the sound design that you do with all the different delay pedals and that pitch shifter and everything is like, doesn't sound like a guitar anymore. It just sounds fucking crazy, which is sick. And then they were also talking about how like they were just tuning all their guitars for all the sessions by ear. They weren't like perfectly in tune. They were just trying to tune it for the records themselves.
That's
and then
nice.
like doing a lot of like random like tape loop splicing and then playing over that and riffing over those and like building songs from like tape loop ideas.
All those little details are like, do whatever you can to make it not what you expect it to be. Because if you're writing music and using only the tools that you know or the tools that you can think of, you're only able to make things that you think of. And because you're literally trying to think of things to do. Yeah. If you step outside of that and relax and like not really care what's happening and just use your hands as muscle memory being where you get like learning guitar from, learning piano from. There's techniques and shapes and things in your hands.
Yeah.
And if you're not thinking about it, you're able to make things that you don't know you can come up with. But if you're like, I'm going to do this, 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 you're literally only able to do things that you can think of, which is pretty fucking limiting.
Yeah. Okay. Very nice.